Well, make no mistake, it's a demanding program.
When you're kind of given hard things to do, if you don't ask questions about them, they stay hard.
I just say, like, you know, get your game face on. Hard work doesn't necessarily mean that it's so hard or that it's so much work. It just means that we gotta have the desire to learn, the desire to grow, and we're gonna do that work together.
It may at times feel overwhelming, but we're going to give you the tools to make certain that you succeed.
Don't stress too much about it. Our first priority is always you as a student. We care about you and we want you to succeed. And so just know that when you're coming to West Jordan, you are coming to a place where every single person wants you to be the best you.
I think the IB Diploma program puts the student in a center of a very global context.
The emphasis is on the process of knowing. Once they get their hands on the process, they will continue with that love for learning, so they are more interested in how to learn.
I left my country when I was 2 years old. My family and I moved to Djibouti. I lived there between the ages of 2 and 12. During that time, I never received any formal education. Because of my family's refugee status, we left Djibouti when I was 12 years old to move to Boise, Idaho. Immediately, I entered the Boise public school system, where I spent the first 3 weeks of school coloring. Definitely wasn't sure if I was being prepared for an IB program then.
The cool thing about IB is that throughout the class you learn skills that will make you better at every other class you're taking. So even in art, you're learning writing skills to make you better in your language arts class. And they all kind of flow together. So if you're super jazzed about art, do it.
I spent the next 3 years of junior high in the Boise public school system, focusing on courses that were geared for non-native English speakers.
I mean, it's a very academic course. I mean, we're going to be immersive, I guess, in the sense that we want to immerse ourselves more in hearing the language, and we really want to focus more on all Spanish pretty much all the time. And of course, I'm going to help you to work through that, the challenges of that, but you're going to grow by doing it.
I'm Natalie Nilsson, and I will be running the IB dance course. It's fun because we'll get into the dance, techniques, choreography, but we also talk about the culture and traditions of different dances. So you'll learn about the culture of hip hop and how it just didn't arise out of nothing. You'll actually learn about the background of it.
I had no formal education in any other subject outside of the English language classes. Since my transition to Riverstone, and particularly to the IB program, my educational experiences have been nothing short of enriching, awakening, and most importantly, inspiring.
Do it. That is it. Just do it. It's so amazing. Even if you think, oh, it might be too hard, try it. I promise you, it'll be so much fun. It'll be 100 times better than every other class.
My motivation is my family, because I'm an immigrant, yeah. And then I want to follow my dreams. That's it.
Honestly, the reward at the end is probably like the biggest thing, because it's going to be hard, and hard work always pays off, especially in the end.
As an IB student, as most of you are familiar with, you don't and can't really pick and choose the classes that you would otherwise elect. But that's where the heart of an IB education really begins. It is this very vision of developing world citizens rather than just developing bookworms who only worry about academics.
My name is Miss Kennedy, and I will be teaching the IB Lang Lit course. I am most excited about the variety of texts that we get to read. We get to do graphic novels, we get to do poetry collections, and we get to do authors from all over the world and exploring different world cultures through what we're reading. And even if you're like, I don't think this is relevant, you get the opportunity to argue with me about whether or not this is relevant. So if you think that we shouldn't be reading something because you don't think it relates, right? Challenge me on that. I love a challenge.
Well, just looking over the IB math itself, it's really exciting because instead of just your standard math class where you just do problem after problem. It really applies it more to the real world. In a normal math class, you might do the distance formula, find the distance between 2 points. But in the IB math class, they really apply that to like, how does a sailor calculate a distance as he's traveling? Or even in space, how do they decide the distance to satellites and how they're traveling?
The IB develops scholars to be worldly, conscious, and great contributors to our world.
Is you're not only going to be studying American history and how we were involved in what was going on, but also we were able to take a bunch of different angles and aspects. So we're going to study the history of the entire Americas, including Canada and Latin America, and how those impacted world history events and histories of those countries as well. Something I'm really excited about for this class is since we have so much time, we get to go through different American and world wars in tons of depth and detail. And those are some of my favorite stuff to teach, are those little human stories.
As a 16-year-old, troubled and confused person, I wasn't capable of making well-thought-out decisions. The conflicts in my country left my family without a home. Now I was placed in a country and a culture that was so different from my past experiences in Djibouti or Ethiopia. Coming with that kind of a background, the last thing on my mind was taking more math or science classes.
I am excited for the immersive, hands-on things that we do in IB biology. It's different from any science class that you have ever taken. One of the big projects that we'll do in the class, the goal is to convert our science greenhouse into either being fully self-sustaining, meaning it's generating its own electricity, collecting its own water, or at least offsetting that in some way. And that's exciting to me, to kind of help students open up and broaden their vision, so to speak, to understand that it's not just about me, it's not just about what I do, it's about how what I do affects the global population.
But I had to, as my headmaster explained in his buffet analogy. At some schools, he explained, a student has the possibility of selecting their courses like they would select a meal from a buffet. The problem is that too often the student chooses food that has empty calories. At our school, the meal is made up of 3 good proteins and lots of good vegetables to make a 6-course meal, plus the special sauce, aka Theory of Knowledge.
And the Theory of Knowledge class really, it wants to ask 2 questions. What is knowledge, and what does it have to do with me? Right? So it's kind of interesting because you can often think of kids, students who are sitting in a classroom, let's just say math randomly, right? And saying, why am I learning this? What does this have to do with me, right? And even if you're particularly good at a subject, so say you're particularly good at physics, you can get through physics with not really caring or understanding what physics has to do with you or how you interact with physics in the world, right? And so the Theory of Knowledge class really wants to change that. It really wants you to understand what knowledge is and what it has to do with you.
It is this, ladies and gentlemen, that makes an IB education unlike any other educational programs out there. The IB, through its many different and rigorous course requirements, in short, raises scholars that are well-rounded people. Today, when I look back at all those IB experiences, words can't express the amount of gratitude I owe to the Riverstone International School community, but especially to the small group of people that have made all of this possible for me. Additionally, I'm grateful for the tremendous support of my family. And when my time comes to give back to humanity, it is my hope to someday go back to my country and expand the opportunity I was given here, and pass on the torch of knowledge, compassion, and curiosity.
You're always learning whilst you're on an adventure, and it's a personal adventure.
At the end of the diploma program, you have a very knowledgeable student.